breathing and phonation. What do you think? Things you may or may not have known?
Well, I really enjoyed the balloon technique on when you're using the right amount of pressure and you're letting just the right amount of air go, like how clear that tone can be.
Right.
And how so often we idolize these singers who have really like breathy tone or who's very like singing like and we're like, yes, this is great. And we're like, no, take it back. So,
Right. Well, and so that's generally in pop singing, right? And which is a totally acceptable style of that, right? Because why? What's the thing they use that classical singers don't use?
they have microphones.
They have microphones. So they don't need to worry about the resonator, right? The body as an amplifier, because the amplification is right here in their hand. But the problem with that breathiness is, and when you've heard people live, what happens when you hear breathy singers live?
Sound terrible.
Well, they sound terrible. Okay, there's that. But what makes them sound so terrible? Pitch goes south, right? I think, as they would say on American Idol, it gets pitchy, dog. Which I know he's not been on American Idol for a long time. But anyway, it gets pitchy. What else? They breathe in the middle of words. Like, that's weird, right? To breathe in the middle of things. It's a little strange. Shouldn't do that if you've got good vocal technique, right? But also just the act of what I call vomiting air everywhere when you're singing, it does things to you physically, right? Makes you lightheaded. I have a singer right now I'm working with who has a degree in voice, but has always struggled with air, and come to find out, she is in constant hyperventilation. And when she sings, it gets worse. And it's because she wants to breathe in this way, right? And sometimes when you have some anxiety, you also tend to breathe in that way. And what can make you more anxious than singing in front of people by yourself? Can make you pretty anxious, right? You feel a lot of anxiety when you do that. So then it drives that need to make more air, and then you feel exhausted by it, right? So not having a breath technique or a way that you want to breathe is deadly, not literally, but figuratively to the singer, because you're so worn out by not having enough oxygen, or you feel lightheaded and you feel weird, right? So how do we do that? What are some ways? There's the very traditional way of singing or breathing that's taught in singing, right? Classical way. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about that. For our purposes, we're going to stick to classical breath and how we do that, because I firmly believe that you can sing any style. If you can learn how to sing classically, you can sing any style and have a protected voice, one that you want to protect from being damaged, right? So let's see how much you all can blow up this balloon. I'm going to give you all a balloon. Let's just see. I know they're really tiny. It was this or those great big balloons that you punch. They didn't have in the middle, so I'll stick to the one I had before. Yeah. So, and now the reason I'm having you do this is because when you blow up this balloon, and by the way, this is on your list of things to have, so you need to get your balloon out. At home, boys and girls. Do this at home, boys and girls. Take out your balloon. Now, take a good breath, right? Start to blow into that balloon, and then now you tell me where you feel any sort of contraction or tension.
Can you clarify that?
No. No. So here we go. We're going to all take a breath. Breathe as slow down towards the legs as you can. Take a good, long, big breath. Here we go. Ready? Breathe. Now start to blow. It's hard at first. It really is. But okay. So Other than in the cheeks at first, like this tension that's in the cheeks where the air comes in and it can't go anywhere, right? Where else do you feel the tension occur? Here, right? Right? Why is that, you suppose? You may know? Anybody want to talk about maybe why? You're exerting, yes, for sure. I won't say over, but I'll say you're exerting. You're engaging those muscles, right? Those muscles are your breathing muscles. They're the muscles required for breath, right? So your abs are really important. It's really important to know where the abs are, what they do, why they do what they do. And there are we have a lot of abdominals. We have several layers, in fact. The diaphragm being a very important character in the breathing scenario. And that diaphragm is shaped like a dome, and it sits just under my rib cage. And it's shaped like a dome, and when I take a breath, or when my body decides it needs breath, right? I don't take breath. My body goes, let's breathe. It contracts. Here it's at rest, and it's shaped like a dome, and it's at rest. And breath, inhalation, it goes down, and then it becomes a bowl. And then it releases, and it relaxes, and it goes right back up into that dome. And it contracts, and I'm inhaling, exhaling. Inhaling, exhaling. So that muscle, when it contracts, it also causes the contraction of other things because it's also attached to the ribs. So my inner and extracostal muscles, which are between my ribs, they cause my ribs to go to rest or expand and go out. Go to rest, expand and go out. It's all in concert with the diaphragm. So they expand and go out as my diaphragm descends, right? As my diaphragm comes back up, the rib cage also contracts this way. Those two sets of muscles. One makes the rib cage go out, diaphragm descends, diaphragm relaxes. Then there's another set of muscles that pulls the ribs back into their place. It doesn't just relax and it goes back in. It literally pulls those in. And this creates this air pressure vacuum that I have. A vacuum occurs when air pressure is greater outside of that object. So air pressure is greater here, the vacuum occurs, then the air pressure gets greater in my lungs. And it has to go somewhere, so then it goes back out, right? So do this again. Put your hands right here. And let the air out. There you go. Yeah, here we go. We're going to take a breath and blow and try to think about where in what finger is the pressure. Here we go. Is it in a particular finger? Is it in all the fingers? So a lot of the fingers, right? A lot of the fingers. Is it higher than you would have thought? Or about the same? So sometimes that belly breathing that's really low is not efficient. It's not efficient. It's part of the story, right? This high clavicular breath is also not efficient. It's only part of the story. We want all of the thorax to fill up. We want the rib cage to come out, and we want the diaphragm to descend. Well, Dr. B, but you've just said that happens naturally. Yes, it does. But what are we trying to prolong when we sing? What's the goal?
Sing as long as you can.
Sing as long as you can, as clear as you can, with good pitch, right? So now what? What's the goal here? This? Or We want steady phonation. Okay. Do I need the air to stay in my body as long as possible? Yes. Absolutely. So, but what if my body is trained to go, how do I circumvent that? How do I keep that from occurring while I sing?
For me, I
Yes.
think, like, when I'm holding out, like, my breath, I'm thinking, as if I'm using, like, a balloon, I'm thinking, okay, I need to not vomit air, I need to think about having maybe a really, like, steady, clear path of, like, where my air is going, like, knowing where it's going so that I can control, how long I need it to hold out for.
There you go. Thinking about having, let's say that that's having intention about where the breath is going to head, right? Like when it's just willy-nilly out of the body, it's not as efficient, and it's not going to have as efficient a tone. So I don't want a overly breathy tone, because I'm out of air in that amount of time, right? I take a good breath, my diaphragm's going to go down, my rib cage is going to come out. Notice my body collapsing as I'm singing. Why? Because air is escaping at such a rate I can't do anything about it if I'm singing breathy. But if I think of it in this way, I won't bore you, but I can do that for quite a while. And the reason I can is because I'm staying in that posture of having air in my body, or the posture of inhalation. Here's the posture of inhalation. Now I'm going to sing in that posture. This is the posture of exhalation. I don't want to sing in that posture. I want to sing with my body full of air, and I want to try to prolong that as long as possible. Okay, that's really simple. It's really hard to retrain the body and to get the body to slow down that process and not feel like it's suffocating. This is why young, early singers struggle with it so much. It's because they feel like they are running out of breath. And especially if you're a person who needs to breathe a lot, or you might have asthma or some things like that, you already feel pretty distressed about your breath. Slowing that down and trying to sing for a long period of time without taking a breath becomes daunting and hard physically. So there's a lot of exercises that we can do to make that happen. One is, we won't demonstrate this for you today, but you can lie on the floor and you can put a book on your belly and you can just relax and then watch that book rise and fall, and rise and fall. And then when you see that happen, you have a good idea for when the diaphragm and the rib cage are contracting for breath, right? Then once you get that timing down, then take a good breath, a good intentional breath of filling up your lungs as much as you can. Then begin to hiss. So hissing is sort of like phonation in that you're not allowing the air to just totally escape out of the body, right? And try to keep that book up as long as possible. So, but it's not a visceral, guttural push as much as it is an engagement, a slight engagement in keeping things in the place where they were. That's not to say that the body is not going to collapse. It will, it must, it has to happen, but we want to put it off. We want to just put it off. You may begin to start to do something like that in terms of this, and it might last 6 or 7 seconds. Watch a clock. Keep doing it until you can get to 10 seconds, 12 seconds, 15 seconds. Try to get that hiss to go a little longer. There are fight or flight kinds of responses in the body when it comes to breath that says, oh my God, I am running out of air. I'm going to die and I need to breathe. And when we first start learning to breathe for singing, those responses become very very strong. One of the things that I learned as a young singer, not through singing, but in a trip to Hawaii, I was on a boat with a guy who was our guide. He threw out an anchor, we swam for a while, we got back in the boat, it's time to go, and he dove in without any kind of a mask, any kind of help in any way, to go get that anchor. Well, he didn't come back. He didn't come back. And he didn't come back. And I started to say, hey guys, I don't know what's happened to our guy. Like this is long. I don't know what he's doing, but this is a really, really long time. It felt like forever. And I don't know, it seemed like 15, 20 minutes, but it wasn't. But it seemed really long to think about somebody being under the water. And about the time we all started to really get concerned, he popped back up, had that anchor, threw it in the boat, and I was like, dude, what did you do? How did you do that? I'm so curious because I'm a singer and I could never go that long without air. What did you do? And his response was, I know I have so many feet of rope, and I know I need to swim so many feet per second to get to that, and I trained for a very long time to be able to get there and back in so many minutes and know that I would not pass out or I would not feel desperate for air. And I filed that away as, wow, I should be able to go home and sing a note for 4 minutes, right? Like, wow, that's amazing that you can, so you can train yourself to have the lung capacity to blow out a single note for a very long period of time. Because that's what he did. He took a deep breath, he went down, and he slowly breathed out all the way down and all the way back up. And it was so many feet, I can't remember what it was now, but it was impressive. I was like, whoa, hell dude, that's impressive. And so we have plenty of air, actually 2 gallons of air in the average body. That's a lot of air. That's 2 milk cartons, right? That's 2. Do you think you have that in you? Would you think that you have that kind of air capacity in you? Everybody's a little different, but that's an average guesstimate as to what kind of air we're all carrying around. But I think sometimes I sing for 2 or 3, minutes or so, or not even that, that's kind of long. And I think, I'm out of air. But when in reality, I'm actually not out of air because the body is built in a way that I always have something on reserve. So, now we're going to all stand up. Yeah? Excuse me. And we're going to put one hand on our chest, right? We're going to put one where, if you did the book exercise, where your book was, which would be right at the top of the, where the belly button is, or at the top of the belt, if you have a belt on, guys. And now we're going to inhale. And we're going to inhale kind of quickly. So here we go. Ready? So somebody has surprised you, and inhale. What did you feel raise first? The chest or the belly? Good. Blow out all your air. Now do it again and let me watch. Ready? Surprise! What do you think raised first? No. Your chest raised first. What do you think raised first? The chest. What do you think raised first? Your chest, definitely. And you're trained. Yeah, so the thing is, when you take that gasp, that surprise breath, the chest raises, and it's going to raise, right? But the thing is I want, hopefully, not to breathe that way before I sing, right? And I want to take a more intentional breath. So now I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a more intentional breath, and I'm not going to think about breathing here, but I'm going to think about breathing here, or putting some tension here. I'm actually putting tension here, right? So, ready? We're going to take that big breath, nice and slowly. Now what happens?
Stomach expands.
The stomach expands. Did you still feel your chest raise? A little bit. Why?
because you're filling up that area too.
Yes, because you're filling up with air. It's like pouring water in a glass, right? Water goes to the bottom and fills up to the top gradually. Air does the same thing. It's the same physics. It's gravity. It's the same physics. So I take my breath. And if I keep breathing, my clavicular breath gets a little, my clavicle gets higher and higher and higher. Now, I don't want that to happen either because that causes me tension here. So I want to take a good, comfortable breath where I think about myself as being the little toad frog, right? Like my body's going to all just fill up with air. I'm going to feel maybe a little tension right through here, perhaps. I'm going to feel it maybe even lower. For some people, feel it a little lower in their back. But I'm going to feel it all over, and that's where I want to have that sensation. I don't want it to be too here, and I don't want it to be that I overfilled my body with breath, because then I'm desperate to get rid of it, right? And then that makes singing problematic in that way. So I'm gonna do this. Now, what if I'm having trouble with that? What if I'm struggling with that? One of the things I can do is go shh, shh, shh. So I feel where those muscles are. Now, I'm not doing this. Shh, shh. It's not that. I don't want to pull in. I want my body, my diaphragm to descend. And that descension is going to make me feel like my belly goes out. And it does, because it's displacing my soft organs there. So by my diaphragm coming down, it displaces organs, which makes my belly pooch a little bit. It's okay. So we're going to go, right? We're going to do that hiss, and we're going to see if we can't engage this muscle here. So here we go. Yeah. So that's inward. Kick in. There. We want the opposite. We want to kick out. Here you go. That's a little bit better. There you go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, everybody, here we go. We're going to all do that again. And so that's that muscle. We're only doing this because I want you to feel where that occurs. So now take that breath again and feel it. Allow that breath to come in. Okay, so now we know that diaphragm is lowering and headed into the viscera and headed into that soft tissue. And that's why we feel the belly sort of bulge there. Now, we're going to time. I'm going to set my timer a minute. And we're going to hiss. And we're going to see how long we can hiss. Yeah? So, here we go. You're going to, that's weird. All right, I'll just figure it out. I don't know. Can't find my little app. Anybody got a second hand on their phone, on their watch by any chance? Anybody? All right, and that's okay. We won't waste time. So we're going to take the breath. Take that big breath, right? And we're going to go. And I'll count. And we'll see. And be honest, when you're out, sit down. Yeah? Okay, so here we go. Ready? Take that breath. 35 seconds worth, but the majority of you were down somewhere between 21 and 28 seconds. So, a lot of it has to do with how big the hiss was, right? Like if you went, sss, it would come out pretty fast if you were, sss. And singing is the same way, right? The more air you initiate, the longer you're gonna, or the sooner you're gonna need to take a breath. And the less air you initiate, the longer you can go, right? So, now you might want to see if you can't get that to be a little longer. Every time, just try to prolong that hissing ability. And then try to be sure about, this is a lot like singing. And this hiss would be more like singing. That's more about the velocity of air that you would have if you were singing. So you want to try to do that a little bit. Do it every day. Try to do that hiss every day and see how long that you can make that last. So also, if you want to try to figure out how to get more control over your respiratory muscles, one of the things you can do is practice panting. Like I know beginning singers who have a hard time with panting. They just don't have any control over the respiratory muscles. And you want to try to get some respiratory muscles. So, I have attached a video of some exercises vocally that you might want to look at, and in order to try and see how long you can go by doing them. But we'll just do a few to give the folks out in the internet land in our class an idea. So if we stand up, yeah, think about your posture. Anytime you start to stand and sing, you want to think about that posture. And let's think about the breath, too. So one hand on the chest, one hand on the belly. So we'll try to make it a little long at first, right? And we're going to go. Okay? So here we go. And breathe. Okay, so in general, some things that I see. And this is one of the things you want to avoid. Is that when you take that breath, what do you see happening with me?
Collapsing.
I'm collapsing. I don't want to collapse. I also don't want to go. What's happening with my shoulders?
Up and down.
Yeah, why? I think it's a subconscious reaction to, I'm singing high now I'm lower, now I'm higher. Like it's about the pitch a little bit. So don't try to stay steady in the shoulders. One hand on the shoulder. There you go. One hand on the belly. Now, everybody, here we go. One hand on the shoulder, one hand on the belly. Now we're going to do the same thing. Take that breath. Feel the raise? Feel the raise start to happen? Can you, yeah. All right. So don't collapse either. Everybody think about your posture. Yeah, see how quickly you forget? Well, it's not something you do every day. Yeah, and take that breath. Okay, so doing some vocal exercises like that. Also remember when I held the balloon and I said this is that posture of inhalation? We want to try to stay in that posture of inhalation as we sing. Meaning?
So like when you are done using all of your air, when you try and inhale again, you're not having to like redefine your posture right before you breathe again.
That is really good advice. But that posture of inhalation is also about where I am in my physicality here, right? I don't want to sing with my belly in. I want to sing with my belly out a little bit. When I say that, I'm talking about just a general engagement, not something that where I'm like bearing down. That's not helpful either, but just a engagement here. So I'm gonna take my breath and I'm gonna try to stay in this outness as much as possible by going. Then my recovery is right, not so big, right? Okay, another exercise I can do. Let's just do some vocal leaps. Some leaps into that. And I'm going to sing. Everybody, put your hands on your, be aware of your posture. Yeah, everybody get your posture up. Here we go, and if I feel like I'm running out of air, then, I might be curious about why. Okay, so those are some exercises that you can do to help with breath stamina, trying to sing as long as you can, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's all for that module. Be sure you look at all of the YouTube links and the links to some reading, and follow up on some things about breath and how to sustain a pitch and how to sustain a phrase for a while. Thank you.